But the reason why I'm calling him up, there's a chapter in your book where you kind of delve into the perspective, let's say a masculine perspective, through your husband's eyes, right? And this chapter in particular, for me being a male, as is obvious, I hope. Aren't you guys walking out here? That's sister, she's a good MC. I hope no one is unsure. So being a male myself, a lot of things come with being a male, right? Especially in the African context on top of that, our connectedness to our emotions, how we process grief, also how we express grief, different things that prove masculinity, quote unquote. When you go to funerals, generally you don't see men on the floor crying, as people say, like Basadi, like I married a Tswana lady, that's why I'm throwing these things in there. So you realize that if you see, generally most of us might, even with our 21st century mentality, understand that it's okay for men to cry. But if you go somewhere and you see a man crying like that, most of us, if we're honest, be like, hey, I don't know what, but hey, something is, hey, I'm not a gossiper, but this one needs to be held up in prayer. So to go back to my question, just to get Jesse settled, is you wrote that book, that chapter in the book from the male perspective. What is that chapter about and why?
Let me start with the why. Somebody was asking earlier on, how do you write? If I were to respond to that question, it would be, why do you want to write? What do you want to accomplish through your writing? So I wrote that chapter from my husband's perspective because my daughter was as much a part of me as it was a part of him. If it were not for him, there wouldn't be a Nombuso that we are celebrating today. That was the first thing. So the story would definitely just not be complete without having his perspective in it. The second is for what you precisely just said now. And especially not only relating to grief, but also relating to issues of fertility. We refer to them as women issues, and they are not. If there is a fertility issue within a marriage, it's not the woman's issue, it's the couple's issue. So I wanted to talk about fertility in that light, to say it is not just a woman's issue. Even if biologically it is obvious who has the problem, as some people might say. But if the pregnancy doesn't come through, it's not just my dreams that die. My husband's dreams of having a child also die. So it's our issue. It's not just my issue. So the third thing, I wanted to give men a voice when it comes to these issues, and to say it is okay for men to hurt. It is okay for them to cry. And we need to start allowing them the space to do so and giving them the platforms to do so. And that is why it's so appropriate that when we're talking about that chapter, we're like, let the man come here himself, because it's about giving male that voice regarding these issues of fertility, regarding issues of grief as well. So I'm sure the next question is not for me.
Give it to love of your life then. So, Jesse, I think same question I've asked her, just obviously rephrased for you. Like, first of all, was it your idea? Because I've married, so I know sometimes our idea is not our idea. But it's our idea. Brothers! Online, you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you have to say, yeah. It's our idea. Like in the Bible, I'm a man under authority. They tell me go, I go. So, hey, babes. Plush is light skin. You know these ones, they are controlling. I'm joking. I'm joking. Hey, don't quote me. It's just a joke. But I want to know, was it your idea? Or did Keletso come and say, hey, babes, listen, I'm writing this book. I really think if you got involved here, it would be great. Or did you say, hey, babes, I know you're writing the book. I want to be involved there. Either way, it's a win. It's a win because she convinced you, or it's a win because you were involved. Let's go.
Okay. Greetings, everybody. I think before I can answer that question, I want to say thank you, wifey, for braving this out and
Aw.
allowing God to use you to, do this.
Love lives here.
Such an amazing. Yeah, I never thought this day would come, but it's here, and yeah, God bless you more and more.
Oh, relationship goals. If you want this, receive now. Receive now.
Yeah.
Online, receive. Take it.
Okay. Okay.
Shout, I receive, Papa. I'm joking.
Yeah.
Must I go deeper? No, okay.
So to answer, I think for me it was, before I can say whether it was her idea or our idea, I'd say it came at a time where it was a word in season. It was a healing moment for me. Like I wasn't expecting it, and I felt a very, very warm embrace. Like, so for me, it was like not only okay to cry, but it took me to, I think, like we said earlier on, like a lot of losses, it's like, sure, finally somebody wants to give me a hug. What about me? What about me? So finally somebody wants to give me a hug, So for me, I think I would say it was more from that perspective where I said, sure, yeah, no, why not? Yeah, let's do it. But so it was, it was her idea, her idea. It was her idea, and
I like how diplomatic Jesse is.
yes.
Straightforward question. Oh,
No,
garden
but,
route.
no, but you know how it is, like later.
Yeah.
So tip for those who are still
Yeah.
bafuna ukushada, Yeah. So
You want to
there's
marry,
things-
tip
yeah,
number one,
yeah.
take her ideas.
There's things you say, there's things that you don't say,
Nah, here you
or the
are.
things you say, or there's how to say them.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, sure. But
Yeah, this is a man with experience. He knows. He has the cheat code. No, definitely. I think it's personally thinking about myself, right? So I don't cry often. And like I don't know, like the new generation wants men to cry when the woman walks down the aisle. That's almost the only time women want emotions, to be honest. But I don't cry often. But in the few times that I do, that thing feels nice, bro. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like I had a good cry recently. I feel like for men, like we hold on to it. And when we cry, it's not just that issue. We offload. It's like, hey, I'm good, I'm light now. So I think the direction I want to ask for you is like, was it difficult for you to connect emotionally? Because it's a lot. To actually be like, okay, I'm strong, I'm a man. Now you have to actually write this stuff. And writing is bad because it's coming out of you. So sometimes when you write it yourself, then you reread it yourself, you're like, hey, this thing is tough. Did you did you have flashbacks to that loss and stuff that you didn't deal with, that you then had to deal with now, putting it in text?
It was very difficult, and I think I stalled the giving her the, okay, what do you want to say? How do you want this to sound? Like, because she's like, I want to interview you. I stalled it. Like, I think I found ways to do chiga and do all these things, but in that way, I was like, hey, man, it's enough that you hugged me. Now, now we must do this thing. Now, So it was very, very, very difficult. But at the same time, I looked at her like there was a certain spark, that came back. She was like, I'm like, okay, if this is gonna make more of this, okay, now let's do it. So so there's a different emotion. So for me, it was more of a emotion of seeing her. But I think what this journey did for me in terms of that difficulty is like series of loss. I mean, like being in business, starting something, and then it works for a little while and then doesn't work, and then you think, ish, I've embarrassed myself there, and then you get up the next day, you're good, okay, I'm gonna start something new, but I'm gonna repackage it, this, whatever, and then but it was like a series of things, you know what I mean? But then eventually something starts working, and then when that thing starts working, who's there next to me to share that moment? She's there, and I'm going like, so it allowed me to also say farewell to the pain of those other things, you know what I mean? So the emotion because I don't know whether it's a guy thing or we always want to connect it. Like there's this thing in Izulu, but ubuhle bendoda inkomo zakhe. So meaning there's no such thing as a beautiful man. So a beautiful it's his cows, ne? Or his pocket, you know. And then that time you're like, dude, you're flat. You know, you're flat. So what's to be celebrated about you, you know? And then here's this person celebrating you, you know. So from there to this, you know, it was like, as in, no, Zakif, and then I was, yeah.
Nah, I hear you. I think all the guys in the room felt that, right? Yeah. So definitely. So I guess another question I had to ask you is with regards to that particular chapter you're involved in, you know, who is it targeting and what are you trying to get across? I know it's for men primarily, but is it only for men? Do women also have a look into this chapter? Like what was your main aim? What are you trying to reach?
To the people that know me, that we have, like I call friends, but they're more than friends. I call them even family, you know. So it goes across age and also gender, you know. Like, you know that saying, same mtase, you know, ish mtase. Like, this is me sharing my space with you, but I know Wutinawe, you know what I mean? You've got your share, you know, you've got your things that you are dealing with. There are things that you were like, ish, and it was very difficult, you know. So for me, if I were to put a target audience, I would label it as somebody who's always looked for somebody to go, you know what, you can do it, you know, you can get up, there is a better day, you know, looking for a better day. So if you're looking for a better day, today is your day. The light and the sun has come, you know. So this is so for me it was that, you know. So then it grows across.
I'm about to free you from your punishment. He doesn't want to be in front. So before I let you go, you're melting here. I guess I have two questions. I'm just going to put them together. You can answer them as a combined question. First one is, your wife mentioned it in terms of fertility being perceived as women issues. So what is your take on that? And how do you want to kind of rephrase or reframe that mentality or that perspective? And then the next one is just with regards to the design. This is an amazing design. How you came up with this and kind of your creative mind that generated this type of design. Because it's almost a, what you call it? What's the technique? Like an oxymoron. I never saw, hey, yeah? I have my matric certificate, higher grade. We're not joking with this English thing. I'm even writing a book after this. I'll start with a pamphlet. But to be able to put such beautiful eyes, when the title is I Didn't See Eyes, I want to kind of go through your creative process. But first, your perspective on fertility, then the second one, and then you are free.
Can I start with the easier one? Yeah. So I think the easier one is more, I always look into, like my work and art always gives me something to do, sense of achievement. You know, when you feel like you've accomplished something, you feel like you've done something, you know, that is when I pick up paint or pick up a pencil or whatever, you know. So during this time, I spent time at an orphanage for boys, and basically my time there, when I was basically teaching them what I do, and we end up revamping their space. When I saw that space coming alive and the words that they were saying, you know, some of the boys were saying like, yeah, finally people are going to come visit us. Now people are going to start looking at. So when I look at that, I was like, let's create more. And then I started creating more, and I started looking at kids, you know, like orphans, and like, so my inspiration there was like, I'm doing something and I'm putting a smile on some kids, you know. This is a smile that I would have wanted to see, because we never saw her eyes, we never saw her smile, we never heard her voice, you know. So our voice is writing, is creative. So this part was like, so the inspiration behind the design was more that, you know. So I created like a series of artworks with like, you know, and then wifey looked at this one, I was like, and then this was actually meant for an exhibition. Wife was like, no, take this off the exhibition. This one is ours, you know, this is our story, you know. And so that was the inspiration behind the design, you know. And then when it comes to the fertility issues, sure, I think school is open, church is opened. It's time for education for all of us, you know. There's a lot of questions. I think we're also living in a very amazing time in the history of I would say even human beings, because we've never seen certain things being questioned culturally. We've never seen certain aspects of who we are as a people or identity being questioned. You know what I mean? So we are at basically the scientists' microscopic sort of table. We were getting questioned like, what is our fiber? Why do we have this thing? Why is this? So for me, the fertility issue is like, it's time to change your perspective, because I think also maybe because personally I also know friends who are not female, who have this, and I've seen what it's done to their relationships, but now it's time to actually, let's open the floor. It's time to talk. It's time to clear things out, and whatever we label this, we need to make sure that it doesn't take us from where we've been, but it propels us forward, you know what I mean, and shows us a better way going forward.
Let's put our hands together for him. Oh, ow!
So well.
My relationship goals. All right, so thank you so much. Appreciate you, Jesse.